Hello everyone, AP Mid here, and today we will be talking about trinket and wards. Starting off with trinkets. Very often you see mid laners walk up at around 3 minutes and they'll ward this or they'll ward this side depending on where the enemy jungler started. And if you'd be looking at this, you'd think there's nothing wrong with it. It gives vision, right? But say if the enemy jungler were to walk like this because the enemy mid laner called that you warded this bush, a jungler can gank you from this way or this way if you trinket in this bush. And if this were to be a ward, it would have not been a problem because a ward actually gives more vision, and this is something some people do not know. I actually ask. So that's why if you place your trinket, you should place your trinket over here or over here. So where my mouse is right now, and that would be around 3 minutes to 3:30 depending on what jungler the enemy has. And as you all know, certain junglers have faster clear speed than others, so you can use your own jungler as like a measured time. Say you had an Lee Sin and the enemy had a Xin Zhao. They roughly have the same clear time, so that would be a very good measurement. If you saw your Lee Sin started at red and he's doing his blue and he's almost done, then boom, walk up, trinket here, and you'll be safe as long as you watch the map. Unless the Xin Zhao comes from here and have flashes or anything, then the most safe ward you could place would basically be here if you know the enemy jungler started at blue. And if it's on the other side, the safest ward you can put if the enemy started red would be here. And if he started blue, you trinket here. And yeah, if you're on the blue side, you also trinket here if he started red. But usually junglers do not do that. Continue to warding. Alright. As you can see, a ward has vision under here, and if you previously looked, you had vision under here. Pink wards. This ward, in particularly if you're on blue side, is really important because look, if you're on blue side and the enemy jungler comes down from here, you would see him. If you were to go up, you would see him. And if a jungler does not click on this bush, he would either pathfind like this and he would skip the brush, or he would pathfind like this and he would still skip the brush. So reason being this is very important is because your top laner usually wards in here, and sometimes they ward in here, but if your top laner were to push until here and he sees the jungler here, then he's already too late to walk back. And that's why you want this ward as blue extra much. And if you're purple side, it's not as important, but it's still a really good ward because it gives vision for this entrance and this entrance. And on this side you could also pink ward, but this ward is not as important because this covers the bottom lane and your lane of course. But say you were to put this pink for bottom lane usually has a ward around here or on dragon, so they will see the jungler come. So that's why the pink ward on this pink ward, if you're playing on blue side, is extremely important. Around 7 minutes is when the second buff starts, and if you're in middle and you have a champion that can push up, you should always walk up to the enemy first buff. So in the beginning you should always keep track as well if the enemy starts blue or red, because that determines on which side you will trinket. And that also determines that if you actually have free time around the 6 to 7 minute ward, 6 to 7 minute time, you should put down a ward on the enemy buff if you actually have the time to, because then your own jungler can either counter jungle the buff, or you will see exactly where the enemy jungler is going, and all vision of the... Yeah, it's basically the moment you have vision of your enemy jungler, every lane has a pressure relief, and I'll talk about jungle pressure in another video, but as long as you see the enemy jungle, it means you cannot get ganked, which obviously is like that. So, and the enemy jungle will take their buff, and you will see it, and that's why doing this helps your whole team a lot. This pink ward helps your top lane a lot. And remember the trinkets, that you should put them over here and not in the bush. Alright, that concludes warding and trinkets. Next up, I'll actually be starting up talking about lane harassment and actually lane stuff rather than the basic stuff, which actually I'm looking forward to, but that's gonna take a while to make, as I'll need to play some solo queue and get the correct fragments for you guys to see, like the right examples and what you should not do. So I'll talk to you guys later.